Everyone is always talking about how important privacy coins are, particularly in our current socio-political climate. But what about smaller cap cryptocurrency privacy coins like Bytecoin? Well, a lot of people say that Bytecoin is a scam. What do you think? So,
Awesome.
why is there controversy around this coin, Seth? I mean, you obviously know a lot more about this than I did. So, maybe it makes sense for you to explain the history a little bit and why people, I don't know, call this coin a scam.
Sure. Yeah, happy to go over some of this. Some of this is available, by the way, on the full write-up at mineyour.biz/Bytecoin. And that was written up by Nicole. So if you're wanting to TLDR the thing, this summary statement is there. But as far as some of the concern about this project potentially being a scam, a lot of it really boils down to the initial pre-mine. Just that's the long and the short of it. For miners, they're always looking for, like crypto miners, always looking for an air quotes fair launch coin, meaning that none of the coins have been mined prior to the Genesis block. And the developers are telling the community in advance on bitcointalk.org or on other communication channels that the launch of their coin network is imminent. They give them a date. They let them know how to set up for it. They give them a test net to mine to. And they basically give them training wheels leading up to that big event, that big launch event. And then, if possible, they give as little of the initial block reward to the development team as is considered reasonable or fair by the mining community so that miners can contribute to the network and they stand a chance of earning a lot of coins. And then it's a speculative risk still, but then when they've earned those coins, if they hold on to them for a short amount of time, they can then sell those on exchange later on and be rewarded for supporting the network early on when, any other tech company or tech startup or ICO, even in the crypto space, they might not get a lot of participation or goodwill from the community. With crypto, it's great because when miners assist you in your project, you can always give something back to them. So miners are looking for a fair launch. With Bytecoin, I think a lot of the controversy stems from the fact that their pre-mine wasn't in the range that most miners would consider acceptable. We'll say the 4 to 10% range. It wasn't even in the range of what most miners would tolerate. We'll say the 11 to 20% range. It was way beyond that at 82% of the total coin supply. And that wasn't known in the earlier days of Bytecoin's existence. So when that came out, well, it stirred a lot of controversy.
That's interesting. Actually, lack of transparency is something that came up repeatedly during this research, and I'm sure that our viewers will see why while we go through the report. All right. So do you have anything else to say about the background of Bytecoin before we go into it?
No, I think the rest is just kind of, oh my gosh, I'm like all tongue tied today. I think the rest is going to come out organically as we go through each one of these points. But I guess the top one, I mean, do they make any unbelievable or bombastic claims?
Okay, are you asking me or are you doing it? Sorry.
Oh, I apologize. I was pitching that one to you.
All right, okay. So perusing Bytecoin's website, I see no claims promising high returns for investors or even discussing the potential for returns at all. But bombastic claims don't end with the promise of returning capital. BCN also claims to be the first truly private and untraceable cryptocurrency. And while this might be true, it's important to note that the recent findings from Chainalysis, which concluded that 99.9% of Zcash transactions and 30% of Monero transactions were traceable. Although there's no mention of Bytecoin in the report, for those who might be looking to BCN for privacy, it might be worthwhile to find out if there is similar data on this more controversial project. To find out, I reached out to Michael Kapelkov, the writer behind the Cointelegraph article about Chainalysis, and he said, I doubt anyone wastes their time researching smaller coins. Still, no mention of returns on their website doesn't mean that Bytecoin leadership doesn't make bombastic claims. Some may say that the community manager, Jenny Goldberg's January 2018 statement that Bytecoin is gearing up for what could be a major resurgence in the near future hints towards bombastic.
I agree with you. That said, a lot of claims from 2018 in the cryptosphere have just not aged well. So I think there was a lot of optimism in 2018. I think most project leadership and most project marketers, they can be forgiven for having that kind of optimism. So.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. And, also she said is gearing up for what could be a major resurgence in the near future without any kind of, definite, I don't know, promises. All right. So is there a tiered referral system?
Well, I can take that one. No.
Okay. Why don't you take the next one too? Where can BCN be traded?
Great question. That's the funny thing about a project like this that has so much controversy and has had controversy circling around it for so long. It's traded in so many places. In fact, it was one of the top 50 coins. And we talked about this privately in preparation for this presentation, that it was among the top 50 really not that long ago. And kind of doggedly maintained this top 100 market cap coin status for a long time. Notwithstanding having a market cap that's over $40 million, with 82% of that potentially still being held by anonymous developers. Crazy to me that could be the case. But it's now in 249th place as of the time of writing on CoinMarketCap. And it's it was at 116th place the previous time you had taken a look at it. Here it is, still being traded on Poloniex major exchange, CoinEx, HitBTC, CoinDCX, Stex, which is, it used to be just called Stock Exchange, right? But Stex, Gate.io, TradeOgre, Crex24, BitXBook, CoinDeal, and I'm sure there are several other much lesser known exchanges where you can trade it. It's worth mentioning also there are a couple of notable exchanges on that list that are not KYC required exchanges that do fairly high volume of BCN versus other crypto note pairs like Monero. So it's entirely possible that these are sort of privacy coin rinsing clearinghouses. So there's that. Some people would view it that way. I just view it as liquidity. It really is being traded in those places. But also BCN is used for private transactions among peers, and several online merchants accept BCN as payment. Because of the allegations that Bytecoin founders and developers lied about several aspects of the coin, including where it was being used, Nicole decided to check a few of those merchants listed on Bytecoin's website. And I already gave her the Atta Girl kudos for this, because she double checked to make sure that this was legit. But here's I wanted to know
if the coin was actually used or if those claims were really false. Because there were claims that Bytecoin falsely claimed that it was used on the dark web in transactions as early as 2012. I kind of wanted to see for myself.
Yeah, and kudos for doing that. It's by no means an exhaustive list, but I was impressed that Nicole really put in due diligence here. So just rattling off a few names here. LeBytecoin.fr, a French site, it's down. Pesa, the site's down. Here First, the site works but can't find info about payments. CCX News, the site works. They do accept BCN, and they offer a 15% discount for those who choose to pay with BCN. Domain de Chromie, the site works, but you have to enter your name, email, and address to complete the transaction, which entirely invalidates the reason for using a privacy coin. And then there's no option to pay with BCN or any cryptocurrencies today. Manta Media, the site's down. CoinStop, the site works, but it redirects to coinpayments.net. So any site that's using coinpayments.net, by virtue of their use of that plugin, could accept BCN. So that grants kind of BCN superpowers to any WordPress sites, or I think also Shopify sites that use coinpayments.net. So we can just kind of say that opens up a lot of possibilities, but the number of vendors, merchants, and website owners that actively choose to accept BCN, hit or miss. Without going through the full list, you can read all of that on mindyour.biz/Bytecoin, where you'll see the extensive research that Nicole has put into answering that question. But it is used in some places, not as many as maybe you'd hope.
For sure. And I think, I don't know, I kind of just want to mention that privacy coins being delisted from popular exchanges might mean that their value goes down in the short term, but I've had really good success actually trading on that information. Oh, Binance just delisted BSV. Yeah, I'm going to buy some of it. Like it can be, an indicator that you shouldn't. And it also can be an indicator that it could be hugely profitable depending on your risk tolerance.
Oh, there you go. It's almost as if this is a very sentimentally driven market. Volatility.
Okay, so is BCN legal in the US and other regulated countries? Why or why not? Like all cryptocurrencies, BCN's legal status is questionable. Governments around the world have expressed concern over anonymized digital currencies. Japan has banned them. France has followed suit. The US has indicated that they dislike privacy-focused digital currencies. And, if you want to look into the history of the US, banning encryption or making it more difficult to conduct transactions anonymously online, there are links in the page also. So although many argue that a potential ban of privacy coins makes owning them all the more important, those who are in this for short-term financial gain might be less apt to hold a coin that their governments are likely to outlaw.
Well, that seems very anti-cypherpunk, but you wherever you go, there you are. You have to live in the country where you reside. So
right.
Let's talk about actual experts and whether or not they endorse it. This is on that list of questions that we ask anyone to ask themselves about a potential scam. This is particularly difficult to decipher because privacy coin developers, they're notoriously private. If you watched our channel, you saw that I had a privacy coin, specifically a crypto note developer on the show, who was responsible for creating a guide on how to forks of Bytecoin about 2 years ago. And they came on anonymously. They're one of the notable anonymous interviews that I did with a coin developer. And so they often operate anonymously or bare minimum pseudonymously. And you can follow some of the conversation within the community on the Twitter link that's available in the article on Miner.biz. Bytecoin's website does have a page with some doxed BCN community members, but none of them are names or faces that Nicole immediately recognized. That said, if you've been in the space for a long time, maybe you will recognize them. Or if you're newer, though, you probably won't. A lot of these folks have kind of, they were early cryptocurrency rainmakers, so to speak, and they had a couple of wins. And maybe they've done well in the space and have decided, I'm just going to step away from the limelight and enjoy my bags of this coin or that coin. Maybe they're trading full time. Maybe they're just hodling and they're doing great, because that happens too in this space. Mm-hmm. So it's tough to track down anybody of note within absolutely. This project. But it is important to note that Riccardo Spagni, aka Fluffy Pony of the Monero project, he's very vocally opposed to Bytecoin. But of course, he's strongly affiliated with Monero, strongly aligned with Monero Research Labs that is now pushing the state of the art forward within the CryptoNote space. So it's hard to say if that's just sour grapes because they are competing coins and competing interests. Now, on the article, there's also a link to some research regarding the current node limitations of Monero. And we'll talk more about Monero versus Bytecoin just a little bit later on in this overview.
So you can't really expect, Fluffy Pony to give an objective review of a competing project, right? I mean, that's just, you have to do your own research. Yep. Yeah. Who are they marketing to? Noobs or savvy buyers? Well, given the limited number of exchanges the coin is listed on and that none of them support fiat to BCN, I would initially say the coin is not marketed to noobs. But a highly critical 2018 article suggests that the founders of Bytecoin funded popular crypto news website Cointelegraph, which could be viewed as marketing to news. Because noobs are often the most likely to consider reading reading media articles as doing their own research. So former CT writer Ian DiMartino further emphasized the link between BCN and the media outlet, saying, "I have no doubt that Cointelegraph was funded by Bytecoin from at least when I started and continues to get funding from the stable of crypto note coins, among other clients." Though DiMartino admits, and my own former coworker and friend PH Midori counters, it's possible that Cointelegraph is funded by MinerGate, who has connections to Bytecoin. So when I asked current CT reporter Michael Kapelkov if he was aware of a potential connection between Cointelegraph and Bytecoin, he said, "Honestly, I have no idea about any connection between them." Regardless of the connection, it's not a secret that news outlets are often funded by those with motivations for manipulating the masses. Manipulation isn't always necessarily a bad thing, doesn't mean that a coin is, a scam, that something is a scam. Having worked in crypto media, I can tell you absolutely that there are ties between all of the major crypto news outlets and other coins. I guess the problem here is really a lack of transparency about those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the team. Who's on the team? Are they real, pseudonymous, or are they flat out fake? And as stated in section 5, Bytecoin's website does have a page with some doxed community members. In fact, I'm going to pull that up right now, see if see how we pull it up. It's not, they don't make it easy to find on the website either. That's the other thing. So let's see, we're on the homepage right now, bytecoin.org. Shows us exchanges, mining pools, media, merchants, block explorers, calculators, gambling.
I actually thought that it was pretty easy to find. It's just the one click on the top that says community.
Oh, there you go. That's not what I would have expected. See, I would have expected under community to have it be just some community support, but not a team per se. So thanks for the heads up. But here on Bytecoin Community Faces, it just talks about, there you go, lebytecoin.fr, owner, Spanish community manager, mining pool developer, partnership assistant, China community manager, community evangelist, translator, marketing assistant. Nowhere in this list do you see lead developer or code maintainer. So the people who are actually accepting the pull requests, the people that are actually creating the code that governs this project, nowhere to be found. So they could be real, they could be synonymous, they could be fake. We don't know. They're just not here. So tough to find out. Find a good answer to that question. And yeah, again, as Nicole mentions in the article, even if they were here, might be hard to ID some of them. You'd have to really jump down that rabbit hole if you wanted to research and try to find what the connection to their real world ID is on something like LinkedIn. And even then, try to double check what you find there, because that's all self-represented identification. That's not verified in any other way.
But also, is any of this really uncommon in the privacy community? Because based on just, the limited research that I've done on it, doesn't seem like it is.
That's totally accurate. Not all that strange for privacy coins, especially crypto notes, to have been forked and to be promoted by teams and by lead developers who are very, we'll just say try to maintain a semblance of privacy. They don't dox themselves. Occasionally, though, they'll work up enough goodwill based on their contributions to other code bases so that people sort of get a sense for their reputation based on the code and the contributions they've given. So they try to work into the good graces of the larger crypto community by being awesome at code, and then keeping their day job a secret and keeping their identity a secret.
All right. So have the founders made claims that have since proven to be false? Well, that's unclear. All right. So BTC manager named Jamie Holmes certainly seems to think so. Holmes said that BCN lied about their narrative, falsely claiming that the coin started in April 2012 when it actually launched in 2014. Further, Holmes and Bitcoin Talk Forum regular Rethink Your Strategy note that Bytecoin falsely claimed that people had been transacting in BCN on the dark web for years when no one had really used it. At least no one who is a known person, even a known person on the internet, had ever used Tor.
There was such a great list. There was such a great list from that side. I apologize for the interruption. There was such a great list of entities that could have used this privacy coin. And you wrote it out. Will you humor me, Nicole? Can you rattle off the number of potential users of privacy coins?
Sure, I will. Not a single vendor, user, miner, drug addict, drug seller, porn broker, fake ID, card manufacturer, student who bought a fake ID to get into bars, libertarian, libertard, cryptographer, Tor developer, Freenet developer, I2P developer, pedophile, or anyone else that is a known person, even just known on the internet, had ever encountered Bytecoin on Tor. Ever. Nobody.
Well, I think they pretty much have all the bases covered there, except for stand-up comedians and politicians.
I couldn't help, honestly, I couldn't help but write it all out because it was just, I don't know, so amusing. And also, there are people, though, who use the dark web and anonymous cryptocurrencies who aren't transacting in anything that's illegal. I've bought books on the dark web.
There you go. Yeah. Kind of sad, kind of a sad statement on society that you had to buy books on the dark web instead of just being allowed to buy books.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the blockchain.
Actually, can we go back really quick? So even just known on the so I'm unclear, and I think it's fair to note that Holmes, the author of this highly critical Bytecoin article, could be biased against Bytecoin for a number of reasons, and among them are his known and stated affinities toward Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Monero.
Fair point. Fair point. Though I think within those communities, maximalism runs very, very deep, right?
Absolutely.
So they circle the wagons around their causes because they want to have a very strong community and they want to have strong coin networks. I don't know. It's a two-edged sword, right? That kind of maximalism. Because the tribal affinity, while it can be really helpful in times of threat, it can be so harmful, as you know.
Yep.
But let's talk about the functioning blockchain or token. Yes, though in Nicole's words, she says she's never transacted in BCN. It's traded on multiple exchanges, and she confirmed that some merchants do accept the coin. As far as how well it functions as a privacy coin, I have a few ideas here I'll weigh in with. I have transacted in Bytecoin, and specifically when I used Bytecoin proper, it was using the free wallet application on Android, which I've since discontinued use of because it is, at that time, it was an onboarding mechanism, but I found transaction times and confirmation times were perfectly serviceable within Bytecoin. It has a block time of 2 minutes, which in talking to specifically crypto note developers, 2 minutes is kind of the sweet spot. And Bytecoin set a standard there for really good block time. Not so fast that a 51% attack would be easily executed for rewriting a single block, and not so long that you're sitting around waiting for transactions to be confirmed. And Bytecoin set that standard as one of the first real world implementations of a crypto note. So yeah, it does have a blockchain, and it's pretty performant. It works well in real world usage. There are several premium crypto note forks that have chosen to base their code on Bytecoin instead of Monero. Chief among them would be projects like TurtleCoin, which has a developer ranking on CoinGecko that pretty much eclipses almost every other crypto note to date. At this point, they picked up where Bytecoin left off and have been extremely transparent in their development. And then so many forks have been created from their project that have to be credited to Bytecoin. So for a time, the number of crypto note forks that was being made based on Bytecoin was, we'll just say it was nipping at the heels of Monero for quite some time. That's since reversed, that trend. And there are a lot more forks that have rebased to Monero based on the excellent work of Monero Research Labs. So there was a time where the state of the art was actually in favor of Bytecoin. based on a lack of vulnerabilities, a lack of hidden inflation and problems. But since then, that gap has been closed and then far surpassed by Monero. So just to say, there was a time where the right choice as a CryptoNote developer would have been to start by forking Bytecoin.
Interesting. All right, so I really don't know. Can we even check? So I know that we can't really check the smart contract here, but can we check a GitHub repository for relevant activity?
We can. And I've got that pulled up right next to us here on github.com/BCNDEV. So think of it as Bytecoin dev. You've got the Bytecoin core code. It's been forked 166 times. You got the Bytecoin GUI wallet. You got the Bytecoin JavaScript, several others here. So Ledger app, Bytecoin, which I'm sure was meant to be issued as a pull request over to the Ledger developers for use and support in Ledger Nano and Ledger family of hardware wallets. So there's quite a bit. However, looking down that page at the contributions, there hasn't been a contribution or a push, a commit push since July 19th of 2019. So, yeah, if you see in tumbleweeds over here, more of the same. This is kind of the legacy of Bytecoin. There's not been a lot of communication from the developers, and now not really a lot of development either.
All right. So is that to our final point, or is there anything before we get into, listening to your gut?
I think that's about it. There's no smart contract to speak of. So it's GitHub or bust. Like this is a coin network, not a token or a smart asset or smart contract. So yeah, there's if you throw your money or you throw your coins at Bytecoin, they're gone for good, right? There's no smart contract functionality here. So, and you see the audience sees exactly where to look up this code in depth. I'll open up the Bytecoin specific repo here. That one, yeah, the README everything. That's the most recently touched content.
Okay. Well, so regardless of the evidence in front of you, there's always more information laying below the surface. So what does your gut tell you about Bytecoin? Is it a scam or a legitimate project? I don't know. Do your own research, because in the end, the only person who can protect you from getting scammed is you.